The dust swirled like ghosts dancing over the bone-dry land of Redemption Ridge. The sun beat down mercilessly on the scorched earth, and the wind whispered stories of lives lived in hardship, love lost and found, and the quiet courage it took to survive another day. Wade Langston, a former cattle wrangler turned homesteader, leaned against the broken axle of his wagon, sweat sliding down his brow. His horse, Amos, snorted impatiently as if blaming him for the misfortune. The axle had cracked nearly in half on a rut just outside of town. Redemption Ridge, population barely 200 and holding on by the grit of its boots. Wade was tired in a way that went beyond bone deep. 2 years ago, his brother had died in a bar fight that wasn't his fault. A month after that, his fiancée ran off with a banker. Life had dealt him blow after blow, and now, when he'd finally scraped enough together to buy his own patch of land, fate left him stranded in the middle of nowhere with a busted wagon and nowhere to turn. Just as he was about to curse the heavens, a small voice broke the silence. "You need help, mister?" Wade turned sharply. Standing behind him was a little girl, no older than 6 or 7, with a face smudged in dust and big brown eyes too knowing for her age. She wore a sun-bleached bonnet too large for her head and held a wooden pail in her tiny hands. Before Wade could answer, she squatted beside the wagon and inspected the axle like she'd done it 100 times before. "You cracked it clean through," she said matter-of-factly. "Ain't gonna roll till it's braced." Wade blinked. "You reckon that's right?" She nodded. "Pa used to fix 'em like this all the time. We got wood and rope back at our shack. I can help if you want." Something stirred in Wade's chest. Hope, or maybe just curiosity. "What's your name, little lady?" "Daisy," she said, standing and brushing her skirt. "Come on, mister. Ma'll know what to do." Wade followed Daisy through a narrow trail flanked by mesquite trees and dry brush until they reached a ramshackle cabin that looked held together more by stubbornness than nails. Smoke curled from the chimney, and 2 goats lay tethered beneath a withered tree. Daisy pushed open the crooked door and called, "Nah, there's a man here with a broke wagon." The woman who stepped into the doorway stopped Wade's heart for half a beat. Tall and slender, with deep auburn hair pulled into a mess of bun and eyes the color of forest moss, she looked like someone who once belonged in a different life, a finer one. But there was weariness in the lines around her mouth, a slight limp in her step, and an old scar running just below her collarbone. She met his gaze squarely. "You lost?" "No." Wade said, tugging his hat respectfully. "Your girl says you might have the tools to help brace my axle. I'd be mighty grateful." "I'm Clara May Wilkes," she said, "and we don't take charity." Wade almost smiled. "Neither do I. I can trade labor, woodcutting, fencing, whatever you need." Clara studied him for a long moment. "You can fetch water and split kindling while I help Daisy brace your wagon. She's got steadier hands than I do lately." Clara didn't explain what she meant, but when she turned to step back inside, Wade noticed a heavy limp in her gait. Old injury or something worse. He didn't ask. In the West, everyone carried something. The wagon was patched by sundown. Wade sat by the Wilkes fire, sipping weak coffee as Clara handed Daisy a crust of cornbread. The cabin was poor but clean, and the scent of dried lavender masked the lingering dust. Wade couldn't stop glancing at the ring on Clara's finger, an ornate band with a cracked emerald set in the center. "You married?" he asked, keeping his tone neutral. Clara's eyes met his, hard and defiant. "I was." Wade nodded slowly. "Where's he now?" "Buried out past Widow's Hollow. Died last winter. Fever took him fast." "I'm sorry," he said quietly. She shrugged, eyes glistening though she didn't shed a tear. Wasn't always kind, but he was Daisy's father. That counts for something. Wade didn't ask what she meant. Something about the scar, the limp, the edge in her voice told him the man hadn't been a good husband. Daisy, curled beside her mother with a doll missing an arm, glanced between them and said softly, "Ma never smiled as much at nobody but Pa when he brought home sugar once." Wade felt a heat creep up his neck. Clara chuckled, dry and low. She doesn't know when to hush. Kids are truth-tellers, Wade said, and suddenly the fire between them didn't seem quite so weak. Over the next 2 days, Wade worked from sunup to sundown. He chopped firewood, mended a fence, and cleared a path for their goat pen. Each evening, Clara offered him supper and coffee, and each time they spoke longer, about dreams lost, family left behind, and the strange ways hope could sprout from the ashes of suffering. Wade found himself looking for Clara's laughter, for the way her eyes softened when Daisy sang. He even began to think that maybe Redemption Ridge wasn't where his story ended, but where it began. But peace never lasted long in the frontier. On the third morning, the sound of hooves shattered the quiet dawn. 3 men rode into the clearing, one lean and cruel-eyed, the others brutish. Clara froze when she saw them. "Stay inside," she whispered to Daisy, and stepped outside. Wade followed close behind. The lead rider spat. "Well, look what the desert dragged back. Clara May, been a while. Turn around, Jeb. We don't owe you nothing." Wade tensed. Jeb glanced at him with a sneer. "Who's a stray?" "Just a friend," Clara said. "Don't matter. Your man owed us $50 before he kicked it. I aim to collect." "We don't have anything." Jeb dismounted. "Then I'll take the girl. Bet I could find a use for her." Before Wade could think, he stepped between them, jaw clenched. "You'll leave. Now." Jeb laughed. "You ain't the law." "No," Wade said, voice cold. "But I've killed men who deserved less." The moment held. Then Jeb lunged. Wade met him with a solid punch to the jaw. The 2 other men jumped in, but Clara tossed Wade a shovel and grabbed the firewood hatchet. Together, they fought like cornered wolves. Wade went down once, then surged back up, knocking one man unconscious. Clara struck the other hard enough to send him fleeing. Jeb, bleeding and furious, scrambled to his feet. "This ain't over," he roared as he limped to his horse. "I'll be back with more." "You do that," Wade growled, "and I'll make sure you don't walk away next time." They buried the man Wade knocked cold behind the barn. Clara said nothing about it, and neither did Wade. That night, Clara sat close beside him near the fire. Daisy lay asleep, her small hand curled around her doll. "You didn't have to do that," Clara said. "I did," Wade answered. She stared at her ring, twisting it slowly. "I wore this as a warning, to keep men away, to remind me not all of them are kind. And now—" She slipped the ring off and placed it on the table. "Now I think maybe there's another kind of man out there, one who shows up when your world's fallen apart and stays anyway." Wade took her hand, rough and callous as his own. "I've got land, Clara, a little shack and 2 stubborn cows. It's not much, but it's a place. You and Daisy could come with me." She didn't answer for a long while. Then, with tears welling up for the first time, she whispered, "Ask me again when Daisy's awake."